A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you another book review today. So cheers. That is a good Korean beer. Huge fan of Cass. Now, I have been a fan of Michael Connelly for a long time. Especially his Harry Bosch novels. I believe he's written 21 novels involving the character of Harry Bosch, who's a detective for the Hollywood kind of division. And then after he retires, he starts working for the cold case people. There's a fantastic TV show called Bosch, and in fact, the actor that plays Harry Bosch in the TV show, whose name escapes me at the moment, actually narrates the audiobook of the first Harry Bosch novel, and it is freaking phenomenal. Michael Connelly also created The Lincoln Lawyer, who in actual fact is Harry Bosch's half-brother. There was a movie with Matthew McConaughey, which I thoroughly enjoyed, even if it was a bit predictable, having, read the Lincoln Lawyer novels. And there is a TV show that my wife and I really love on Netflix. I believe it just finished its third season, which ended on a cliffhanger, but me having read the books, I know exactly what the next season is going to be. Still can't wait for it. He's written a few kind of standalone novels, books like The Poet. And he's also created this female character called Renee Ballard, who has been kind of intertwined with Harry Bosch. She's this character who is kind of working the cold cases. She's had a rough go of it because she kind of ran afoul of one of her superior officers who kind of made a move on her, and she kind of shunned him, and then all this kind of shit happened. Very interesting character. Now, I have read every Harry Bosch novel. I've read every Lincoln Lawyer novel, and I've read every Renee Ballard novel. This is like 35 plus books. The characters grow, they evolve. Harry Bosch's daughter Maddie is now a police officer, following in her father's footsteps, wanting to become a detective, and is working cold case files with Renee. I love the progression. It's not like this world is stagnant or it's sitting still. These characters grow and evolve. For example, in one of the earlier Harry Bosch novels, there was a terrorist threat and he was exposed to some radioactive material. Now, he had cancer, and because of that, and the cancer has kind of gone into remission. So it's things like that. It's these little details that if you're fans of the series and if you're fans of these books, you grow to love them and you grow to pick up on them. And that is why I am going to read and review, well, I've already read it, I'm going to review it, the latest Ballard and Bosch novel by Michael Connelly, The Waiting. Now, I'm just going to say up front, I enjoyed it, but then I'm a fucking fanboy. Of course I'm going to enjoy this book. I love the characters, I love the stories, and I love the way Michael Connelly weaves 3 stories into one. This book has 3 cases happening at the same time that, well, 2 of them connect, and one of them kind of doesn't. The first one is the fact that the main character, Renee Ballard, her car gets broken into while she's surfing, and she loses her badge and her gun, and that is a huge no-no. She doesn't report it. She's hoping to find some way to get them back. So there's that story. Then there's the this cold case about this guy called the pillowcase rapist. He was a rapist that would cover his victim's head with a pillowcase, and on his final the final time he did it, he ended up actually murdering the woman, and then the case went cold. And then you've got the case of Elizabeth Short, who is probably the most famous cold case in Hollywood history. You would probably know it best as the Black Dahlia. There was a fantastic book by James Ellroy. Those of you that don't know this case, this woman was found basically cut in half, and no one has managed to solve the case. And it's one of the most famous cases in Hollywood. That is kind of dealt with in this book. So you've got those three cases between Ballard and Maddie Bosch, although Harry does make a kind of cameo appearance in the book, which was really, really cool. But I like the idea that his daughter is now kind of coming into her own as a police officer, and Renee Ballard is kind of working these cold cases. It was a fascinating read. It was a fantastic read. There was action. There was kind of intrigue, conspiracies, the whole lot. This book really had it all, and it shows you that Michael Connelly isn't losing steam with the books that he is writing. Now, that can't be said for some of the other writers that I have enjoyed in the past. Unfortunately, Lee Child, who writes the Jack Reacher novels, or who wrote the Jack Reacher novels, the later ones aren't really as good as the earlier Jack Reacher books. But Michael Connelly, once again, hit the nail right on the fucking head with this one. So if you don't want any spoilers, and if you want to go out and grab this book, although I recommend just going back to the very beginning, the Black Echo, and just reading all the Harry Bosch novels in order, and the Lincoln Lawyer novels in order, and the Renee Ballard novels in order, because they are all fucking great. And if you don't want to do that, watch the shows. Watch the Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. Watch Bosch. These are great, great detective shows, and the Lincoln Lawyer is basically a kind of action, legal fucking shit. It's just awesome. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, I'm a fanboy. Get over it. Whatever. Here comes the next spoiler-filled review. I'm just going to have to calm down a little bit for this one, because Jesus Christ, that got me amped up. The next spoiler-filled review in the next episode of...
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
Okay, I've calmed down. Don't worry. So, as I said in the introduction, there are three stories happening here. I'm not going to go through them in kind of chronological order, just because they all kind of twist and turn and interweave. What I am going to do is I'm just going to explain each one. Now, the first one is Renee Ballard getting her badge, gun, and other stuff stolen from her car while she is surfing. This isn't the first time this has happened. In fact, she meets a surfer who tells her that a very expensive watch that his father gave him, was like a $3,000 watch, actually got stolen. And she looks up these cases, and they kind of span all the beaches. And what happens is the criminals themselves follow an app that a lot of surfers use to indicate where the best waves are on any given day, and then they will go there and just break into cars and steal shit. And this case leads back to almost like a white supremacist organization that are getting guns and things like that, the FBI get involved, and this is where Harry Bosch comes into the story. They use him as this decoy. He's got guns to sell, and these people are planning an attack, but it gets foiled. Renee gets her badge and gun back, and manages to also get the guy's watch back that she met. So that was kind of a cool little story. The next story I'm going to talk about is, in fact, the Elizabeth Short case, the Black Dahlia. Maddie joins the team who kind of solve these cases because she believes she solved the Black Dahlia case. Now, she has a storage unit, and this gentleman was paying for a storage unit out of a trust fund, and when the trust fund ran out, the owner of this storage complex went in there and found all of these really disturbing photographs, most of them being actresses that have gone to this photographer to get shots done, and then he photographs their torture, mutilation, and ultimate death. So Maddie gets these photographs, and she believes that this guy is the guy that killed the Black Dahlia. She takes it to Renee in the cold case kind of unit, and Renee tries to kind of get enough evidence with Maddie's help to push it through to the district attorney, but the district attorney, who is a real dick, keeps kind of turning it down. What happens in the end is Renee leaks the information to the press, and the press kind of run with it and let it be known that the district attorney is turning down cases because he doesn't like the chief of police, because the chief of police didn't endorse him to be district attorney. And so that kind of gets out there, and Maddie is given the credit for presumably solving the Black Dahlia case, which is really cool and will hopefully fast track her to become a detective. And then we're going to get like Bosch novels about Maddie, because she is a fascinating character. Always has been, ever since the early days. Around the time when she was a teenager, her mother was killed, and then she kind of went to live with Harry and then got into university and all that kind of stuff. And I basically read this character growing up, so seeing this was just beautiful. Just beautiful. Now, the main case is this pillowcase rapist. Now, this revolves around Renee coming across DNA evidence that suggests a suspect who is arrested for domestic violence isn't the pillowcase rapist, but his father is. So they're trying to kind of work out his genealogy, and they're using 2 volunteers. Now, a lot of people that work on the cold cases are volunteers. There is this woman called Hatras and this Swedish guy, Peterson. And their job is basically to create genealogy profiles in order to kind of trace back possible suspects in these cold cases. So they kind of work out that this guy whose DNA shares traits with the actual pillowcase rapist was himself a child of rape. And they managed to trace his mother back to this woman who was raped at a hotel during her high school prom night, and ultimately, due to the trauma and after giving birth, ended up killing herself. They then find out who her date was at prom, and they go and confront him in Las Vegas, and he lets them know that he wasn't the only one that had access to the room. She'd gotten really drunk, and he'd put her to bed and then given the key back to the person that rented the room. So there are 3 other suspects. He is actually shocked to find out that she was pregnant and she had a daughter. So they kind of slash him off the witness list there. So they start investigating, and during the course of the investigation, Renee gets a little bit angry with Hatteras. She's always hanging over her shoulder, wanting to do field work, but she's a volunteer, and she's not kind of equipped for that. And so they get into a little bit of an argument, and then Hatteras leaves the station, and they don't hear from her. And Renee goes to investigate, to kind of make amends, so to speak, and finds her dead. It looked like she was strangled, but in actual fact, she had been shot execution style behind the ear. In the course of the investigation, they discover that one of the gentlemen who was a suspect, or was their suspect, I should say, is a real estate agent. One of the guys has passed away and whatnot, but there's this real estate agent, and Renee goes there to an open house, realizes that this guy has a gun that's similar to the gun that killed Hatteras, and basically ends up taking him down, and he confesses to everything, and Renee solves not only the pillowcase rapist cold cases and that murder, but Hatteras's murder as well. And then the book ends with her leaking the information to about the Black Dahlia case to the media, so it's kind of ends on a high note. This was a ride. I love these sorts of books. I really do. They're relaxing to me because as you're reading, you're just trying to solve it. And for some reason, I'm really fucking bad at that, because every time I think I know what the fuck is going to happen, next chapter, something else happens. I'm like, the fuck? That is basically these books. I call them my the fuck books, because every time I read a chapter, I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, okay, I get it. What the fuck? That's just the way it is with me, and I love it. I love every freaking minute of it. Now, these books are pretty much labeled airport books. These are books that you can read on a long haul flight across the country. But you know what? Sometimes that's what you need. That's what you want. You just want a book that you can lose yourself in. I typically read, I read during the day when I'm kind of doing other shit, like editing these videos and whatnot. But there are 2 times when I give myself time to read. And that is when I wake up in the morning. I typically try to read for half an hour to an hour in the morning before I even start doing anything. And before I go to bed. I will pour myself a glass of whiskey. I will sit in the office and I will read a couple of chapters of whatever. This is my typical reading schedule. This does not include commuting to work, because I'm constantly reading on the train. I'm reading either a novel or I'm reading a book on Kindle. But I try to read as much as possible. Why do I do this? I do this because this was how I was fucking raised. I was raised to love books. I love movies. I love TV. But there is nothing quite as enjoyable for me as just losing yourself in a novel. that can be an audiobook. Okay, I consider people often say if you listen to audiobooks, you're not reading. Bullshit. You're reading. You're getting the information. I consider that reading, listening to an audiobook. I consider reading graphic novels reading. If you only read comic books, you know what? You're still reading. Okay? Doesn't matter. I don't care how people read. I just care that people read. Books like this might seem trashy. Hey, that's fine. You should see some of the shit I have in here. Okay? I don't care if it's trashy. All I care about is reading, finishing. If I liked it, I liked it. If I hated it, I hated it. Goldfinger. Pardon me. I seem to have a goldfinger in my throat. The fact of the matter is, everything is valid, okay? And trashy novels, if you consider Michael Connelly trash, I personally don't, but some of you might. Some of you might only want to read high literature. You know what? Hey, go crazy. Perfectly fine. But the long and the short of it is, we like what we like, we hate what we hate. I've said this numerous times, and I'm going to say it again, over and over and over, until it gets into your little Plaguelandian heads. Everything you love, everything you like, everything you enjoy, it's all valid. Share it. Share it with the fucking world. Please, leave comments down below what books you enjoy reading, what books you hate reading, what movies you like, what TV shows you like, and what you hate. I would love to hear it. And my Plaguelandian buddies, Mr. Ian Van Gammon and Dr. Luke Carman, would love to hear it as well. You know why? That's how we learn. That's how we learn things. So this was Michael Connelly, The Waiting. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, leave a comment. But most importantly, take a drink. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe. Read a fucking book, people.